On investment books, if you're asking about that, I would recommend the first two books that Phil Fisher wrote back around 1960, Common Sense and Uncommon Profits, and the second one. They're very good books. I obviously recommend first and foremost The Intelligent Investor, with chapters 8 and 20 are the ones that you really should read. All of the important ideas in investing really are in that book, because there's only about 3 ideas, and those two of them are emphasized in those 2 chapters. Actually, I think John Train's Money Masters is an interesting book.
Favorite book?
Well, the favorite book from an the book that had the most impact on my life is The Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham.
Are you an Apple or a Samsung man?
I'll show you this is my cell phone. It's falling apart, as a matter of fact.
So how do you tweet?
I don't. I've had 5 tweets and another person didn't. If you make money with money, you get taxed at very low rates, 15% dividends and capital gains, no payroll tax. If you make money with muscle or hard work or sweat of your brow, you get taxed at rates that move on up. And most of the people, the middle class, gets taxed rates of either 15 or 25 on their income tax, but then they get really hit hard on the payroll tax, and that's what brings the rates in our office up to an average of 36%, if you leave me out.
Apple is not 35% of Berkshire's portfolio. Berkshire's portfolio includes the railroad, the energy business, Garanimals, you name it, See's Candy. They're all businesses. And, the good thing about Apple is that we can go up. They buy in their stock, and instead of owning 5.6%, they got about 15 billion, 700 and some million shares outstanding. They get down to 15.25 billion without us doing anything. We got 6%. So we can't own more than 100% of the BNSF. We can't own more than 100% of Garanimals or See's Candy. And it'd be nice. We'd love to own 200%, but that just isn't doable. But they're all the same. They're good businesses. And to think that our criteria for Apple is different than the other businesses we own. It just happens to be a better business than any we own. And we put a fair amount of money in it, but we haven't got more money in it than we've got in the railroad. And Apple is a better business. Our railroad is a very good business, but it's not remotely as good as Apple's business. In my view, for most people, the best thing to do is to own the S&P 500 index fund.
Let me give you a figure that'll blow your mind, I think. I bought my first stock when I was 11 years old. It was the first quarter of 1942, shortly after Pearl Harbor. I spent $114.75. Three shares, $114.75. If I put that 114 into the S&P 500 at that time and reinvested the dividends, think of a figure as to what it would be worth today.
Oh man!
Well, it's
okay.
But I just want your audience to think for a second.
Okay.
The answer is about $400,000.
Oh.
Cash is always a bad investment. I mean, when people said cash is king a year ago, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, cash wasn't producing anything, and it was sure to go down in value over time. And then you always want to be sure you have enough. I mean, it's like oxygen. You want to be sure it's around. We will always have enough cash around. But anytime we have surplus cash around, I'm unhappy. I mean, I would much rather have good businesses.
Warren, how would you define true success?
Well, I've said many times that if you get to be 65 or 70 and later, and the people that you want to have love you actually do love you, you're a success. I've never seen anybody that reaches that age. I mean, I'm not talking about somebody that's in extreme poverty or pain or something, but I've never seen anybody that, if they have a lot of people that love them, that is other than happy. And I've seen some very, very wealthy people that they give testimonial dinners to and name schools after and everything. Nobody loves them. You've got a chance to be in thousands and thousands of great businesses, and their prices change all the time, so their relative valuations change. And you can make the exchange at very low cost these days. Commissions are nothing. So you can always shift from one business to another. You have a huge advantage.
I advise you to seek out, as your partner in business, your partner in life, whatever it may be, look for the people that actually are examples to you rather than somebody that you need to straighten out yourself. Associating with people that will cause you to move in a better path than you might otherwise have, they will take you so far in life that it's hard to believe.
The question I have is, Warren, what is one tip? So you're talking to people that are 21, 22, just graduating school. What is one tip that you can give them in any realm of life?
It's very simple. Invest in yourself. And the one easy way to become worth 50% more than you are now at least is to hone your communication skills, both written and verbal. I mean, if you can't communicate, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens. So you can have all the brain power in the world, but you got to be able to transmit it, and the transmission is communication. So
there you go.
What about life advice?
well, life advice is the most important thing. Aside from the things I've talked about already, is really who you associate with. You want to associate with people that are better than you are. I mean, basically, you'll go in the direction of the people that you associate with, and you want to have the right heroes. You want people, if you want to emulate somebody, you better pick very carefully who you want to emulate. You don't need to be a genius in what I do. That's the good thing about it. I am in a game. You don't really need brains. You need the right orientation. 90% of the people that buy stocks don't think of them the right way. They hope it goes up next week. And if it's down, they feel worse. I feel better. I think about what the company's going to be worth 10 or 20 years from now. And I hope it goes down when I buy it, because I'll buy more.
I didn't become a billionaire until I was 56 years old, but at 93, I'm worth over $130 billion. That should be testament that people do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures within due time.
I was just wondering, what would you consider to be the worst investment you've ever made?
The worst investment I ever made? Mm-hmm. The biggest mistakes are the ones that actually don't show up. They're the mistakes of omission rather than commission. We've never lost that much money on any one investment, but it's the things that I knew enough to do that I didn't do. We have missed profits of as much as maybe $10 billion in things that I knew enough to do and I didn't do. Now, the fact I didn't buy Microsoft way back is not a foregone opportunity, because I didn't know enough to make that decision. But there have been other investments where I did know enough to make the decision, and for one reason or another, I either didn't do it at all, or I did it on a small scale. I was sucking my thumb when I should have been writing checks, basically. And those don't show up. There's no place where it shows missed opportunities, but I've missed some big ones. The triumphs in life are partly triumphs because you know that everything isn't going to be a triumph. And I would never get too hung up on mistakes. I know a lot of people that really agonize over them, and it just isn't worth it. I mean, tomorrow's another day, and you live it forward and just go on to the next thing. I could buy any house in the world, and I don't want any other house than the one I'm in. And that house is in a middle-class neighborhood. I'm happy in a pair of khakis and a sweater, so I don't need fancy clothes. I don't need fancy food.
Do you have an iPad?
I do not have an iPad.
iPhone?
No.